This is how it starts, Teclis. They come to Ulthuan gnawing, biting, breaking, hacking, burning. Destroyers and usurpers all. And then the need for vengeance strikes. The fever, the rage, the craving of battle that turns good elves cruel. These are the Trials of Khorne, and there are only two offerings that must be made in his name. Blood and skulls. We've done the Trials of Tzeentch many times before, and they will return, but this is a different animal entirely. 40 unit cap, large armies, no magic, only melee. Maximum carnage. The warriors of Karneth march on the shores of Ulthuan, and the Azur rally to defend their homeland. The Blood God should be very pleased with this one. He cares not from whence the red rivers flow, only that they do. So the natural extension of one of our most popular series, the Trials of Tzeentch, was to start spreading the love into the other powers of the warp. I am very much open to ideas on how a Trials of Gork and Mork or Trials of Slaanesh might look like, but today we are focusing on Khorne, which means martial prowess and skill at arms in righteous close quarters combat. White Lions, veteran swordmasters, Phoenix Guard, and tons of armor piercing to crack through legions of hell-forged warriors. And Teclis is angry. He's tired of playing second fiddle to Tyrion, tired of being called a wimpy nerd, so he's cast aside all magic. Khorne has entered his heart, and he only has the sword of Teclis to channel his rage, backed up by the Puremain Company with their guardian aura and 2 nobles. 4 dragon princes, including the Fireborn, round out the rest of the Azur defenders, while the Blood God sends forth his armies from across the valley. Same rules here, all melee, all Khornate themed, Chaos Knights, Halberds, Chosen, Armored Trolls, even the Weird Spawn march in step to bring down this ancient kingdom, with a command center consisting of a Chaos Lord and 2 exalted heroes with Hellblades and the Mark of Khorne, bumping their melee attack up past 70. And that will be a powerful HQ that will not be easy to take down whatsoever. So things are deceptively simple here in terms of tactics. There are no flyers or creatures of magic to worry about whatsoever. No dragons or Flameflower Phoenix swooping overhead. No backlines of archers and skirmishers to protect, just the crush of melee combat and the pure, unadulterated glory of cutting down a champion who desperately wants to slay you. But unit positioning and matchups are still really important. Lord and hero support in and amongst enemy elites still really important, and still, even with a lack of range play, 2 diametrically opposed styles. Chaos, with a heavy emphasis on support play and monsters, the Azur, with a build comprised entirely of infantry blenders and heavy knights, ones that will do exceptionally well at the outset of a melee brawl, but will find themselves quickly losing combat potential once their HP drops below half. The Azur, gilded white and blue, shining in the evening sun, and the Warriors of Khorne, draped in crimson, bronze, and pale bone, flanked by the monsters of their accursed land, closing the gap, eager for what is to come. I'm playing the Elves, Wyvern Gaming is playing as Chaos, and there are 2 things I must do if I want to win this one. Win the cav fight with support from the Phoenix Guard and Keepers of the Flame out on the flanks, and get my Swordmasters into Chosen Great Weapons while I still have Martial Mastery. Swordmasters are the best elite anti-infantry unit in the game. They smack around executioners, they thrash great swords, they dunk on Chosen Great Weapons, as long as they retain those melee buffs above 50% HP. But they're less well-rounded than Chosen, much less effective against cav and monsters, so Wyvern wants to play keep away from them, throw them chaff and trolls and chaos spawn, grind them down, then finish them with the 2nd and 3rd waves. And the melee grind is going to begin in earnest now. Glorious Slaughter is joined, Fireborn going right up the center, and they'll smash through the front ranks of Marauders and quickly retreat. Shagus and the rest of the monsters of Chaos coming in to try to finish them for good. And we're not going to stick around to say hi, so it's going to get a little bit blobby on the Chaos left flank to start this game. Summoners of Rage, Chaos Knights, and the rest of the Marauders and Chaos Warriors on that side will wrap around the Swordmasters and Azur Spearmen that have already committed to the fight, but we're going to keep reserves and wait until they overlap, and then if they decide to commit even further, then maybe get a Hammer and Anvil off. The Armored Trolls are in there, and it's going to be bad news bears for the Azur Spearmen who have to receive their charge. They're supported by Marauders, which is exactly how you want to use monstrous infantry, and that means that their martial prowess will not last for very long, as they are coated in bile, slammed into the ground, and torn asunder under the weight of a pretty massive troll assault, also backed up by the Weird Spawn, which will be armor sundering in there too. Swordmasters have committed, more are waiting on the wings, and we're going to hold the Pure Main Company in reserve alongside Teclis and the Nobles, who will not be able to fight the Exalted Heroes particularly well, because the Chaos Lord will still beat the brakes off Teclis. And it's been interesting watching the evolution of two-handed infantry units in Total War. There was a time back in Medieval 2, and actually in Rome 2, Attila, and in Britannia as well, where units like Thracian Nobles with their Ramphia, Varangian Guard, and Danax units would absolutely demolish infantry off the charge. Talking like 50% plus casualties and insta-routes with a clean charge in. It's not like that in Warhammer 2, not by a long shot, not for Hammerers, not for Chosen, especially not for White Lions, but they should still be able to chop their way through Marauders pretty quick, and a decapitating strike is one of the best ways to send them running. So the Chaos Knights have closed in. They're going to get in there with some powerful charges and begin shifting that in the forces of Khorne's favor. White Lions will have to fight for their lives, as on this side, the Swordmasters, as their Spearmen, and Chosen Great Weapons go to war. And on every side of this engagement, it's going to get especially brutal as the elites get stuck in. The Keepers of the Flame have not been committed quite yet, but the Armored Trolls got a bit overextended, and now they're in the farmland where the Nobles, Teclis, and the Dragon Princes have gotten a perfect round off. Those Armored Trolls might be gold chevrons, which does get them up to 50 leadership, but they have incredibly low morale, simply because it reflects their stupidity on the tabletop, which isn't my favorite implementation, but it does mean they are going to rout back into the center of the Chaos line as the Dragon Princes try to stem the tide over on this side of the battlefield. But there are so many units over there, they will likely need the help of the Pure Main Company and the Nobles. Pretty even fight so far. Dragon Princes and Phoenix Guard on the High Elves right flank have smashed all the way through, while Chaos is doing the exact same on their right flank, and they are overwhelming the Dragon Princes with the Poison Warhounds nipping at their heels, trying to escape, waiting for support from the Nobles and from Teclis to charge in and give them some kind of help, and they will need it. Weird Spawn Armored Trolls running over White Lions in the center. Armored Trolls are breaking, but they'll get that regen and should be able to come back to the fight in here. Very important cavalry engagement. Teclis is in there, just spreading his love of battle with the enemy. Khorne is extremely pleased to see what was a longtime caster and powerful wielder of the Winds of Tzeentch, now a rage monster cutting people in half with a sword. And the Swordmasters have been completely overwhelmed. Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and the Exalted Hero Goon Squad has proven way too much. They have broken, they will shatter. Fireborn are on the run. Chaos Knights and Chaos Warhounds with poison nipping at their heels. This is where most of the elite infantry and cavalry for the High Elves is focused. It looks like it should be a good engagement, but the Summoners of Rage are going to throw a wrench in those plans. They cannot be taken on by any unit for the High Elves except the Keepers of the Flame and the Fireborn. So a little bit of cat and mouse to avoid those, and they managed to escape, extricate themselves from a pretty scary situation. Dragon Princes with that gorgeous hammer and anvil, exactly how you want to see them get used, baby. Just smashing through the Chaos Warriors and should help turn that. But everything on the Chaos right flank, the High Elves left, is starting to break. It is starting to go the way of the forces of Khorne, and they are definitely having their way with the Azure on this side. Tactical retreat, if you will. Now for wrath, now for ruin, and a red dawn, death, a Fireborn coming from behind, and that is just going to be such a scrumptious charge. Halberds and Chosen Great Weapons smashed from behind by those Dragon Princes. Keepers of the Flame providing quite a nice little hammer and keeping those Khorne units tied down, and together that should be a lot of killing power that should see a lot of the Chaos forces start to waver. But some of them are still holding down, they're still waiting. The hammer and anvils and the cycle charging from the Dragon Princes are going to be a huge factor here, and Swordmasters are exactly where they want to be. Two-handed swords, armor-piercing anti-infantry. It is the perfect combination for scything their way through Chaos Warriors with halberds, and their heads will not stay long on their shoulders. They will break almost instantaneously after they touch down in melee combat. But the Dragon Princes, they're suddenly in a scary situation. They cannot deal with the Exalted Hero and the Chaos Lord particularly easily. They're just going to run away. Over on this side, you can see the Chaos Forces have pushed all the way up the hill and are beginning to take over the village, threatening the civilians that are still hiding inside. Teclis and the Nobles are going to have something to say about that, but they've lost all their support over on the left flank, and so they're trying to link up with the rest of the Dragon Princes and the Fireborn. The Chaos Knights are streaming forth now. Fireborn have committed to the fight here. Exalted Heroes, Chaos Warhounds with Poison, all that together, Fireborn realize they are not ready to take on that engagement, but the rest of the Dragon Princes are coming in, and the Swordmasters are going to run over these Chaos Warriors with great weapons as the Keepers of the Flame run a long distance to try to close the gap and get into the Dragon Ogres, the Summoners of Rage, and the Chaos Knights, where their bonus for Large and Armor Piercing will be most useful. It's been a bloody affair so far. Dragon Princes, Chaos Knights, Exalted Heroes, Nobles, they're all going at it. Even the Summoners of Rage are in there smacking stuff around, but they're beginning to feel the effects of the Dragon Princes and the Nobles that have been chunking into them with their high charge and AP, and they are going to look to retreat while the Swordmasters have been left on an island, and this is going to be their nightmare. Chosen on one side, Armored Trolls on the other, corrosive bile spewing forth, and big clubs will smash them into the earth, and they're gonna get torn apart. There's nothing for it. They're done, but the Nobles will strike back and kill some of these Lightning Wreaths, Shaggus, and strike them down with the support of the Keepers of the Flame. So with the monsters dead, with the bonus for Large and Armor Piercing dead, that means one of the best tools Chaos has for dealing with Nobles and dealing with the Dragon Princes is now gone, or at least severely depleted at this point. Swordmasters have somehow hung on, but they won't be long for this world. Chosen Great Weapons should be able to finish them off. They've lost their martial mastery, but both sides just hanging on by a thread. Just slivers of health left on each of those elite infantry units. Teclis and the Dragon Prince goons are coming in, trying to finish off the Summoners of Rage, who will retreat behind the safety of their own Chaos Warriors and then come back in. Really well microed there to retreat behind the safety of the infantry, then get their full charge bonus off without getting charged themselves. Everything is just conglomerating into a huge blob at this point. It's all melee. There's nothing for it. Just send everything in and try to strike that killing blow. Get rid of the heroes. Get rid of the Lord. Send them running. Kill for Khorne. Blood for the Blood God. Skulls for the Skull Throne. Bloody brawling to the very end. And this is where you love to have a unit like the Keepers of the Flame Phoenix Guard. A unit that can be trusted to hold the line in the face of overwhelming adversity, fighting back to back with Rage Monster Teclis and the Nobles. And that is a combination that's making it very difficult for the Chaos Lord, Exalted Heroes, and Armored Trolls to get done what they want to get done. There's a lot of wavering for the Armored Trolls. There's a lot of wavering for the Summoners of Rage. They're beginning to break, and the Chaos Lord and Exalted Heroes will take that opportunity to retreat to the safety of their own infantry line. And the Pure Main Company, there are only a handful of models left on them, somehow still providing that Guardian Aura and keeping Teclis and the Nobles survivable in melee. So Chaos is beginning to break, but this is also a tactical retreat. They are very much in this fight. In fact, the balance bar says they might even be winning, and they've just caught out an Exalted, not an Exalted Hero, a Noble. The Exalted Heroes have the Noble cornered, 3 attacks sending him really low, and there will be no healing for anything on the field except Teclis with that Potion of Shiroi and the ward save as well, which is why he's in such good shape right now. Noble coming in with the help of the White Lions and what remains of the Swordmasters and Phoenix Guard, which is only a handful of models for each of those units. Armored Trolls back in there, realizing they don't want to charge into Keepers of the Flame. Teclis charging forth, Exalted Heroes retreating, Armored Trolls will cover their retreat, and their gold chevrons are the only reason they have not already shattered. Weird Spawn and Pure Main Company going at it, 3 versus 3. One of the monsters goes down, only one left now, and can he finish off the rest of the Pure Main Company and prevent them from getting that Guardian Aura anymore this battle? The Nobles and Teclis want none of it. They're thinking about charging in. They're watching, they're waiting, they're commiserating, and here we go. Big charge, Weird Spawn out of the picture, done for good. What's left? Only a handful of Keepers of the Flame, Swordmasters, and Phoenix Guard, as the Armored Trolls try to get a little bit more regen. Chaos Lord and Exalted Heroes are still alive and have similar HP pools to the Nobles and Teclis, and they can beat the brakes off him if it comes to that. The High Elves have the infantry advantage, and the monstrous infantry really cannot be taken on the Keepers of the Flame and Phoenix Guard. That's why the Exalted Heroes and the Chaos Lord are in there too. Fireborn, Dragon Princes all getting a surround off, and this is going to decide the battle. Whoever wins the duel here will win the game. Fireborn are getting some really good attacks in, and Keepers of the Flame are holding the line so admirably well. Only a handful of models left, but still in there, and it's looking like Chaos is beginning to run out of steam. The Chaos Lord just broke. Nobles got a couple good attacks in. They're so good for those kind of duels because they're bonus for storage and armor piercing. Less melee attack, less well-rounded than the Exalted Heroes, but the Heroes of Khorne certainly cannot take on anti-large units in such a capacity. And in this case, they are going to break, and that will be the end of the game. High Elves managed to squeak that one out barely. Only a little bit of HP left on a handful of units, but they will manage to take the field and protect their home turf. Khorne, get off my lawn. Almost 2,500 losses. Khorne is very pleased whether his soldiers won or not. There was plenty of blood to be had, plenty of skulls to collect for his throne. He's a happy boy for sure. In terms of kills, the cavalry made a huge impact that game. None of them started the game with chevrons except for the Fireborn, who are obviously rank 9 veterans by default, and all of them ended up getting 1 or 2 at the very least. Cavalry made a huge impact on that game. So did the nobles, who did not start with a lot of kills. They didn't end up with a lot of kills, but they managed to get the important stuff off the field. Got some great attacks into the Summoners of Rage, alongside Teclis, who only had 16, but he was tanky and survivable with that potion of Shiroi. Certainly not a melee combatant compared to like a Chaos Lord or Exalted Hero, but with the Sword of Teclis, he can hit more like one of those guys, and so he managed to trade upwards all right in a couple of situations there. The White Lions were solid, got some chevrons, and the Swordmasters were a huge factor in that battle. 108, 117, 152. But that pales in comparison to the 3 chevrons those chosen great weapons earned. I don't know what they were fighting. Must have been some Swordmasters, but 194 is crazy. They are so well-rounded. They're not anti-infantry like Swordmasters are, so in a 1v1 fight, they will lose to Swordmasters, but they are better against the cavalry, they are better against the monsters, and so they managed to generate an insane amount of value, a lot of chevrons for themselves. Exalted Heroes, too, managed to kill off that Swordmaster unit that only had 50 or so kills. Them, alongside the Chaos Lord, working in tandem, so powerful and a great way to turn what would be a bad infantry fight in your favor. So like I said at the beginning, Chaos more focused on the support and the command center. High Elves more focused on winning that infantry engagement and dominating the mobility game with their cavalry, which I wouldn't say they dominated. Chaos Knights got 2 chevrons, 80 kills, and the Summoners of Rage definitely made that a harder fight. But Phoenix Guard, Dragon Princes, Swordmasters, the elites managed to push back the tides of chaos, and Khorne is a grumpy boy.